President. Do you want to introduce President Rochelle Strauss?
Welcome, Club 3299. We have some visitors with us tonight. We have on Zoom Terry Abramowitz. Are you you're a Toastmaster, I understand, correct?
Yes, I'm a Toastmaster from Maryland.
Oh, nice. I'm going to Baltimore in June 1st.
There you go.
So I'll kind of be in your area.
Yes, you will.
Welcome, and I
Thank
hope
you.
you enjoy our presentation tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. And
You're
how did
welcome.
you find out about the presentation tonight?
From John. He and I are friends on Facebook, and I saw his post,
Ah,
and here
okay.
I am.
Yeah, thank you so much. No, it's good.
We
for
know
us
each
to
other through Toastmasters, so yeah.
Yeah, of course. It's just good for us to know better marketing is working, really. That's what that question was all about. And AJ, are you able to speak up? Okay, well, welcome. I'm not sure if you're a member or a guest.
He
So-
was a Toastmaster at one point.
He was,
I don't know if
right?
He still is.
Okay, so welcome and thank you all for joining. Thank you to everybody. And we have our lovely guest in person. Do you mind using the camera so that we can scan her?
No, please.
What? Oh, no? You don't want to be on camera?
That's all right, doesn't matter.
Oh, you
Okay.
look lovely. I love the hair and everything. She's a really cool looking person. What's your name?
Hannah,
Hannah?
yes.
Hannah, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Did you come from a very far place to see us tonight?
Yes, I do come from Africa, from Namibia, very far away. I have come to visit my daughter in Florida. And I thought I'd visit Roxanne because we met on Zoom in Toastmasters. That's why I'm here.
Oh, wonderful. Well, welcome. So nice to have you here. This is very exciting. And I don't want to take up too much time, so I will return the control of the meeting over to our Toastmaster of the evening.
Okay, our theme for this evening is summer vacation. Summer vacation is one of those things that we should all think about from time to time. Because on a periodic, recurring basis, we have vacation. And vacation offers a lot of opportunities. And for me, I was thinking about things to remember. How did you feel when you didn't have to go back to school every day? That was a lot of fun. I always enjoyed it. You wake up, it was warm, it was sunny outside, you could play with your friends, you could stay up late. Your parents wouldn't go after you because you knew that it was going to stay daylight until 10, 11 o'clock at night, depending on how far north you lived. And then as we got older, your summer job, your first summer job, what did you do? Think about those memories. The day at the beach, a bad sunburn. Everybody, I'm sure, has gotten a bad sunburn from being at the beach. And then also getting a chance to spend some quality time with your parents. My dad was always working. We would never see him. He would be up and gone, and he would come home and we were already in bed. Now I am missing a grammarian and an odd counter. Do I have?
I'm your
I have
grammarian.
a grammarian, will be Toastmaster Strauss. Do I have an odd counter or a timer?
Joy.
Joy.
I'll be the odd counter.
I said I would be the
But
timer.
Elizabeth B is our timer.
Yeah, and I'm gonna just help John out with the timing here as well.
And so you want to be the grammarian here?
No, someone else was grammarian.
I'm the grammarian.
Oh, all right, okay. I messed up.
And camera person and assistant.
No, I'm your camera person.
Oh, you are, okay.
Am I still a timer? Hello? Am I still timer or did someone else say they were doing it?
No,
Yes.
Elizabeth B, you're still timer.
You're still timing.
Okay, just checking. Thank
Odd counter, could you tell us your responsibilities and how you'll be contributing this evening?
Toastmaster, as our counter, are we looking for infractions of speech, which are not supposed to be in our speech, such as Oz, you know, well, it's like, those things. If I hear them, what's wrong here? Our bell has died. Wait a minute, it was working last
The
week.
bell
It
has
was
left
not
the
coming.
ball. It may be because it's not on a hard surface. Put it on a hard surface.
Yeah, you have to put on a
I'm
hard
sorry,
surface.
I can't ding.
Your ding has donged.
You have to put it on a hard.
You have to put it on a surface. You have to put it on a table.
Nice, nice.
Oh,
Are you
no.
satisfied? It's
You
not
can do
working.
this.
All right, I'll make a noise.
That's
And
funny.
report at the end of the meeting how many noises I had to make.
Look at us.
Our timer, Elizabeth Bicycle. Could you explain your duties?
Thank you, Toastmaster of the evening. As timer, I will be responsible for ensuring that our evening runs on time. And with that, during various speeches, I will share the timing cards. Sorry, give me 1 second. When a speech fits the minimum time requirements, I will share the green. When the speech is at the 30-second mark, or I'm sorry, halfway between the minimum and the maximum, I'll share the yellow. And when the timing has met its maximum time, the red card will be shared and the speaker will have 30 seconds to finish their speech.
Great, thank you so much. Speaking of Michelle Strauss.
As your grammarian, I will be noticing parts of speech that are done really, really well, and the ones that are done not so really, really well. I also have the gift of picking a word of the evening that when you use it, you get points. Points that lead to nowhere. That word is relax. I'm feeling relaxed. I relax on vacation. My hair is relaxed. Any way you use the word relax, you will get grammarian points. And then I will give my report at the end of the meeting.
Thank you, Toastmaster Strauss. For the benefit of all of you, normally we have the meeting is divided into 3 parts. The first portion is prepared speeches. That is going to happen, but it's going to be a workshop from Toastmaster Schneyer on evaluation, and there will only be one. The second section is evaluation of a speaker. We are not having evaluation of a speaker except for the general evaluator. And the third portion will be table topics, which is to give everybody a chance to speak, and it will be Toastmaster Newjo who will be running that. So our first speaker this evening is distinguished Toastmaster John Schneyer, who will be evaluated by our general evaluator tonight, who is Michelle Strauss.
Completely forgot.
Who's very pleased to be able to give an evaluation. She's absolutely thrilled, all the way to her fingertips. So she will be evaluated. Now, Toastmaster Schneyer's speech will be approximately 30 to 40 minutes, correct?
45 to 60.
45 to 60. Toastmaster John Schneyer, distinguished Toastmaster John Schneyer. The name of the speech is Effective Evaluation, and the introduction is, today's presenter, John Schneyer, has been a Toastmaster for 13 years. He has given well over 300 speeches, dozens of evaluations, won speech contests, and recently finished second in the district speech evaluation contest. John has found effective evaluation helps speakers improve. He has also seen what can happen when someone receives a poor evaluation. John appreciates having learned from accomplished evaluators like Tom Newbery, Novek, Barry Rinehart, and his mentor, Elizabeth Rando. Now, it's John's turn to pass on what he has learned about effective evaluation. Please welcome distinguished Toastmaster, John Schneyer.
Timing.
I guess I'm a little taller than Phil, huh? Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming. I want you to sit back and relax. I get the first point in of the night. A warning before we get started. Nothing I say tonight is etched in stone. It's not a law. It's not one of the 10 commandments. It's things that I have learned through the years that I am passing on. You heard 4 names earlier. I'll talk about them a little bit. I really am just going to be channeling what I've learned from them tonight. And one of them is here. So hopefully she'll keep me honest. Distinguished Toastmaster Rando. And if I say something you don't agree with, remember, it's their fault because they taught me. Okay. Now, I have been very fortunate in this club to have some really outstanding Toastmasters. One sitting right in front of me right now, distinguished Toastmaster Gary Sharp, who's been here for longer than any active member of the club, right? You can't, he may not see, but he's nodding and said yes. Let me tell you about the people I've learned from. Barry Rinehart told me, and this is a man who, the year I joined Toastmasters, he won the club, the area, the division, and the district level contests in table topics, speech evaluations, and international speech. I wish I had joined earlier so I could have observed all of that. But what Barry told me was, John, you have to love the speaker. Now, he told me this on a night when I was evaluating someone I really don't care for. And he said, I don't care. You have to love the speaker. What I took that to mean from watching him over the years was, it's not about me. It's about helping the speaker. That took a while to sink in and try to refine. Tom Newbery, as a general evaluator one night, when I gave a speech evaluation, gave me feedback in front of everyone saying, Toastmaster Schneyer, when you give an evaluation, I'd like to hear fewer yous and more I's. I think, what does that mean? Fortunately, he was an exceptional Toastmaster, and he explained what that meant. What he said was, if you keep saying, you did this, you did that, you did the next thing, that sounds rather accusatory. And as if you know better than anybody else what they should be doing. But if you change it to, I felt this when you said that. I connected with you when you told the story about your mother. Then people may listen to you more to understand, because it's about the speaker, not about the evaluator. Karen Novek, I give her a lot of credit. She came up to me one night after meeting and said, can I give you some feedback on your evaluation? I had evaluated an experienced Toastmaster who told me he was working on a speech he'd be giving in South America, and he needed me to give it to him right between the eyes. Don't hold back. I want to know what I have to do. So I did. Karen told me, I think you might have been able to do that a little differently. I said, what do you mean? I gave him what he wanted. She goes, you can do that in the parking lot. We have new members here. We have guests here. Have you considered you might scare them off? No, I hadn't. Not everyone would have taken the time to come up to me and give me that feedback, to evaluate my evaluation. And I remember that. Made an impact on me. And then, what can I say about distinguished Toastmaster Elizabeth Rando? In the top left corner there, if you're playing Hollywood Squares or the Brady Bunch. Do you know, after every contest that I'm in, regardless of what type, I call Elizabeth and I say the same words every time. How do I get better? She always has something for me. We might talk about the contest. Generally, I try not to because that's in the rearview mirror. I'm looking forward. I want to get better. Now, after the district contest a couple of weeks ago, I did not call her. It was late at night. I knew she hadn't watched it, so I don't know what she might have told me about getting better, unless she just said, I'm in first place next time. But I really don't control that. See, here's the thing that I've learned. Whether you're given a speech, an evaluation, which is a speech, if you're in a contest, you can't play defense. Everyone is giving their own speech or their interpretation of a table topic or an evaluation, or in your evaluation of what the speaker has said. So all you can do is try to be yourself. Listen to Barry and love the speaker, even if you really don't like them. I guess it's okay to love them if you don't like them. But my mother once told us after one of her parties, she didn't just love us, she liked us too. And I knew what she meant. That makes a difference. Hopefully she's up there saying, okay, he listened. Because that's what you need to do. Now, when I first joined the club and I was doing speech evaluations, I can't tell you how many things I did wrong because I'm a process guy. So I had to have a process. And I tried so many things. I had mind maps. I had outlines. I'm busy writing. And I'm not giving good evaluations. And eventually, through the mentoring that I got and listening to other people, what I realized is you have to hear the speech. Speaking of which, I meant to say this earlier. Those of you who are on Zoom, can you hear me okay? A thumbs up if you can. Okay, thank you. You have to hear the speech. Now I'm going to tell you a bunch of stories tonight. And they're going to be my stories because I only know me. It's not because I have a big head. I'm not saying I don't have a big head, but that's not why I'm not going to tell you the stories, okay? I don't know if any of you remember, I know Elizabeth and Gabby do, Arun Manta. He was a member of our club, very, very smart guy, very nice guy. He and I were talking after a meeting one night, and I don't remember who the member was. She came up to me and said, okay, I've noticed you do something in your evaluations. What is it that makes your evaluations so effective? And I looked at her, I said, well, I listened to the speech. She said, yeah, I know that. Well, what do you do? I listen to the speech. I know. Would you tell me what you do though? And Arun said, he's telling you, you're not listening to the speech. Because that's what I found. And what has worked more for me, and I'll tell you some words to avoid: criticism, critique, you should have. You could have a little different than should have. But there's no absolutes in speaking. Whatever works for you would be good. What I found is, not that I don't take any notes at all. If somebody gives a particularly poignant quote, I'll write it down. So I try to write down their name because I don't always catch it and I want to make sure I remember it so I can address them properly, especially in a contest. But then I try to listen to the speech and see how I feel. At the end of the day, what do you think is the most important thing to a speaker and a speech? Anybody have an idea? I mean, I have my own opinion, and like I said, it's not etched in stone. But Gary, what do you think is the most important thing about a speech?
To a speaker, the most important thing is that the listeners take away something and remember and act on.
Keyword right there. That's my word. Remember.
Remember.
Because I don't care how good a speech you think you gave. If people leave and they say, yeah, you gave a really good speech. I don't know what he said, but it was a good speech. Thank you, Gary. That was my word. Remember. I want people to remember me, and I want to remember a good speech. So if they connect with me emotionally, and I don't mean they have to make me cry, there's a lot of different emotions, but if you touch me in a way that I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, a lot of times people will talk about their mother and maybe Sunday dinner. Then I start thinking about my mom, my grandmother, especially my grandmother's leg of lamb on Easter Sunday in Manhattan. I can still taste that dark brown gravy. So if somebody's talking about something like that, and it touches me in my evaluation, I might say, Gary, that was such a strong connection you made with me when you talked about your mother's cooking. But I also want to give them the why, not just the what. Why, John? Because you made me think and remember my grandmother's leg of lamb. And that is such a good memory for me. Thank you for doing that. And you want to give somebody an opportunity to improve, right? We're not criticizing. Gary, to connect more deeply with me. When you finish that portion, pause. So I can savor the flavor of your speech, just like my grandmother's leg of lamb. So I'm not looking to criticize. I'm looking for, can I help them raise the bar? Even if it's just a little bit, on how they connect with me. Because I can't speak for John or Phil or Rochelle or anybody but myself. I don't know what will connect with the rest of you. I can only tell if somebody has connected with me. Now, I talked about avoiding the word critique. I'll tell you a story. A few years ago, and it was in this room, but the whole thing was open. It was either an area or division evaluation contest. And you can't hear the other evaluators who are in front of you in the contest, only the ones after you. Lucky me, I got to go first. Now, Barry has told me, Barry Rinehart, he wants to go last because he wants to be remembered. And he disagrees with me. I like being first because we're in here for the education. And if I get to learn from the other speakers, they don't learn anything from me. I learn from them. So I wound up winning that contest, and a woman who was in the contest who didn't place came up to me afterwards. And she said, let me ask you something. You heard my evaluation. Can you give me some feedback? How can I do that? I said, well, it took you a while to give the speaker any feedback. You talked about evaluations in general. You talked a little about yourself. You only had 2 to 3 minutes. It took you a while to get to the essence of the speech. She said to me, you know, I had trouble finding something to criticize. I said, there's your problem. You're not looking for things to criticize. And truly, if something really blatant happens bad, you don't have to look for it. It's going to be right there in front of you. Okay, I said, you're looking to raise the bar a little bit on their performance. You having fun with that camera? I'm getting dizzy watching myself. You can back up if you want.
She's adding dimension.
I'm sorry?
She's adding dimension.
Adding dimension. I can. So, you know, you don't have to say, I have to find something bad. Because we hear about this Oreo cookie method. Open with something nice. And then put, I don't know whether you put the cream in the middle because that's the bad stuff. And then close with something nice and supportive. Well, I think you want to do that throughout the evaluation. So you don't need to be looking for something bad. In fact, I'll tell you this. At the district speech contest, the evaluation contest, When I heard the test speaker, I immediately thought, and I know this sounds really negative, I'm in trouble. Because the speaker didn't do a great job with the speech. I like to evaluate in a contest a speaker who does a really good job. The reason I like that is because I'm not looking to criticize. I'm looking to strengthen the connection. And I know that that will be a problem for the other contestants who are looking for things to criticize. Oh, by the way, none of you can use any of this information if you're ever competing against me in a contest. That is a requirement of you being here. And you'll backfire on it because they're going to say, hey, that's Schneyer stuff. You can't use that. But yeah, it's just be yourself, listen, share what's going on. And has anybody ever heard, if it's not fun, it's not Toastmasters?
Yes.
Have some fun. Have some. I was thinking when we were still at the train station, we had I think it was a club evaluation contest. And when I was speaking, somebody over here, their cell phone went off. It wasn't super loud, but I heard it. And I immediately turned and I just said, hey, if that's my mother, would you tell her? Give me 2 to 3 minutes, I'll get back to her. Now, I didn't win that contest. I don't think I even placed in the top 3, but I had fun saying that. In a contest here one time, Barry always told me, be in the moment. Be in the moment, if something happens, see if you can use it, work with it. Don't have all your time allotted so that there's no room for that, okay? So he said, be in the moment, use whatever happens. A few years ago, in this room, I'm giving an evaluation to the speaker. Now, I had sat in the front row, and I had trouble hearing her. And just as I get to the point where I'm talking about that, and I asked her if she could project her voice so all of us could hear her, somebody over here about 3 or 4 rows back, big loud yawn. Now, earlier in my Toastmaster career, I would have been like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. But Barry told me, be in the moment. And I wound up saying, just like that. Now that was only a yawn, but I bet you everyone in here heard it. And I knew the guy's name and I said, thank you, Douglas, for helping me make my point. Now I had to carve some other stuff out because I just used up time I didn't expect to. But I had gotten the experience through all the years in here to be able to do that, and learning from Elizabeth and Barry and Tom and Karen and Gary and other people. And I did win that contest. And afterwards in the parking lot, a Toastmaster told me, she said, as soon as you did that, I leaned over and told my husband, he just won that contest. Just by doing that, because you know what? Nobody else had a chance to do that. And you want to be what?
In the moment.
Remembered. Right, you want to be
in the moment.
remembered. So if you don't do what everybody else does, I'm not saying you'll win, but you'll be remembered. And you want the speaker, whether it's a contest or in the club, you want them to remember what you said. If you genuinely gave them good feedback, you want to be remembered. And you don't have to say, okay, you did these 18 different things here that I can spend 2 seconds each on. 1 or 2 points. Repeat them if you have to, so they sink in. Because then you have time afterwards in the parking lot or on the phone or an email to give more expansive feedback. You can only say so much in 2 to 3 minutes, whether you do it with sign language or whispering or whatever. Yes, that was directed at somebody in the room. For those of you watching at home. I like to have a little fun with these points. I wish you were all able to be here. But we did have somebody come from South Africa, and I'm sorry, your story is changing.
Namibia.
You came all the way from South Africa because you heard I was doing this tonight.
Namibia.
Namibia.
Oh, Namibia. Okay. You came all the way from there just because you heard. I was
Yep,
doing
Yep.
this.
Mhm.
Terry, very disappointed you to make the drive down from Maryland. Okay. I've actually spoken to Terry's club once. She invited me because she's so, I don't know how exactly we met on Facebook, but we met. And then, here's the thing. Realize the world changed 2 years ago. Evaluations are different. At the most recent contest, I'm just sitting there staring at my camera. I can see 2 people on the screen, and I'm one of them. Doesn't help me much.
Mhm.
The timer's the other one, and I'm just looking for the color to change. Whereas when you're face to face, oh, I can see Gary right here, and he's shaking his head like this. Now, if he shakes his head like this, I might ask him a question. I might think, what did I do wrong? Why is he disagreeing with me? But Gary and I are going to disagree because we're different people. We give different types of feedback, and we get connected with people differently. So that's okay. It's not a problem. Sometimes when we're in a contest, you have 5 minutes to develop your speech off to the side. At this point, I don't need 5 minutes. And that's why I like to go first, get it out of the way. My understanding from one of the contestants at the division contest, who was not writing anything during those 5 minutes, was he was a member of Boca Raton Advanced. You're a member of Boca Raton Advanced?
No.
Okay, what he told me was, hey, this is how we do it in our club. We don't have time to write an evaluation. We just give the evaluation. He said, I'm ready. I said, well, you gotta wait for me, I'm first. So I'm ready too. Let's see how this works out. You know, but I mean, I think a lot of people overthink evaluations. I want to talk a little bit, so I don't forget, not about giving an evaluation, but receiving one. And my father taught me a long time ago, somebody gives you feedback, you say thank you, because they cared enough to give you feedback. It's one of the gazillion things I learned from my dad, and 10 gazillion I learned from my mom. But he said, then you do with it as you choose, because you're the only one who deals with the consequences. So if they tell you to do this and you do and it doesn't work out, that's not them, that's you. If they tell you this and it works out great, it's still you, but you thank them because they helped you. Now, how many people here have never given an icebreaker? Oh, no,
You've given like 9.
30.
Yeah, more.
I'll give them 30 of them, okay? All right, so everybody's given an icebreaker, right? Do you have any recollection of how you felt? Nervous? I mean, even though it was your speech, you worked on it,
Yeah.
you wrote it, but you're getting up here and you're giving that speech, right? Nervous and jerky, hoping just to get off. You don't even care if you make 4 minutes. You just want to say something and leave, right? Okay. What about the first time evaluator? Have you given that some consideration? That's a first time, very special speech with very little time to prepare, right? Now, Elizabeth, Rando, and I have disagreed over the years about this. When you have a new speaker and a new evaluator, do you pair them up, or do you give the new speaker an experienced evaluator, and you give an experienced speaker the new evaluator? What do you all think? Terry's got her hand up. Terry, you're on
Yeah.
mute though.
I would pair them up how you said it, the new speaker, experienced evaluator, experienced speaker, new evaluator.
Why? I always want to know the why behind the why.
Because an experienced evaluator for a newbie knows not to scare them away.
Okay.
And the other way around, if I'm the experienced speaker and I've got a new evaluator, I do what you say. I say thank you, and I take what they say and decide what I'm going to do with it.
Okay, that's a
And
way.
it's not going to make me run away. And you know what? They do well.
Anybody else want to offer anything? Okay, I agree with what you said about not scaring off the new member, because you really want to encourage them to sign up again and again and again to give speeches. And I think we want to do the same with the evaluators. Because I believe if you do something often enough, it becomes familiar. And with something becoming familiar, you gain comfort and confidence. And then you find your voice, whether it's a prepared speech, an evaluation, a table topic. You have that confidence, but that doesn't come from showing up every other month for a meeting and signing up for a role 3 times a year. That comes from showing up, even if you're not giving a speech or an evaluation, but observing those who are and listening to those evaluations. Now, there's another role in the club that does evaluations. That's the general evaluator. And they should be giving feedback, as Tom Newbery gave me, as Karen Novek gave me privately, to the evaluators on how they can get better. Because if you don't, you get no feedback. You might think, hey, I did really good. I'll keep doing what I did, even if I'm scaring off members because I don't know that's happening. Or I'm not helping someone, and maybe they don't want to give a speech if you're going to evaluate them. Now, I like to get evaluations from a variety of Toastmasters because everybody's got a different way. I mean, I remember before one meeting, the Distinguished Toastmaster Gary Sharp was going to be evaluating me. And before he got on, I said to the people who were on the call waiting, I said, I'll tell you what Gary's going to say in his evaluation. And I haven't even given my speech yet. But you didn't say all of those things. You said something else. So you caught me by surprise. Because I was wearing my glasses and you let it go. See, normally Gary would tell me, John, your glasses are reflecting the light. You should be wearing your contacts, or, and this is the real dig, it's a prepared speech, John. You should have it memorized. You should be able to do it with your eyes closed. See, and I'll accept that from Gary because he's very experienced and he knows what he's talking about. But I sometimes have seen speech evaluators mimic what they've heard from other people, even if it's not necessarily appropriate to the speech they just heard. All right, slow down, vocal variety. Person was slow. They have really great vocal variety. Do they just have a notebook that they're reading the things off of? Let it come to you. Be comfortable in that. Be vulnerable, because we tell speakers, if you're going to be vulnerable, you're going to connect with people. So we're all human. We're not perfect. I remember saying in the district contest to the young man, I was the first evaluator, to the young man who gave the speech, and he would, I said, okay, you have a number of ums and ahs in there. I'm only mentioning it so you're aware. I don't have a problem with it because normal people, they and they ah. And that tells me you're human and so am I, and we can connect. See, I'm focusing on connection when I'm giving the evaluation. Not, oh, Gary, you shouldn't have any ums and ahs. I mean, come on, somebody with your experience by this time, I mean, you shouldn't even be able to say an or an ah. We're all human, it's gonna happen. You don't have to make a huge deal of it. I told you I'd be telling you stories. Several years ago, I got at the train station, Friday Noon Club. Anybody know Ellen Goldfarb? Me, Elizabeth. It's harder for me to say an older woman these days, given my age. She is older than I am. And she's a very uncomfortable, low confidence speaker when she first got started. She was going to be giving a speech out of the legacy program, an advanced manual. I'm going to be evaluating her. And she had a very long quote. She had a table in front of her with a bunch of props. And anybody ever see a deer freeze in the headlights?
Yes.
Ellen did an excellent impression of a deer frozen in the headlights at one point through her speech. And it felt so long as somebody in the audience, and I know it had to feel 10 times longer to her, because I've done it too. Middle of the speech, oh crap, what comes next? Just be quiet, John, it'll come. The little squirrel's taking a rest in the wheel, it'll come back. And she did recover. She finished her speech, and she told me later when she sat down, she said to somebody sitting next to her, oh, I feel so bad. Even John won't be able to find something good to say. I said, boy, I didn't hear that before. That was I'm supposed to be in bed by 8 o'clock.
Obviously.
When you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, you don't go to bed too late. So anyway, I got up, and you want to be positive, right? You want to encourage her. And the first thing I said was, thank you so much. I congratulate you on giving an advanced speech. Acknowledge that. And I said, you had a really long quote that you did good on. You had the table with the props and everything. And I was like, all right, how am I going to address the deer in the headlights? Well, I addressed it head on. I said, it appeared to me, I could be wrong, that at a point, you forgot what came next. And for me, it felt awkward and long. I'm sure if that's the case, it felt that way for you. And she's like, oh. I said, I am so glad that happened. She's like, what? I said, you showed us so much confidence and grace in the way you handled that. That's a great example for the rest of us. I said, I've thought about rehearsing speeches. I think that's the one thing you can't rehearse. How many of you were able to do this? All right, I'm gonna practice my speech now, and at 4 minutes and 17 minutes, I'm gonna forget what comes next. Take about 20 seconds to recover and then move on. I can't do that. Now, I might be able to plan it so it looks that way, but I can't intentionally say, all right, I'm gonna practice forgetting my speech. And I said to her, you did really well with that. And the next time it happens, and I looked at everybody in the room and I said, and it will happen again. It happens to all of us eventually. You will be even more comfortable. You might even reach the point where you joke about it. She told me she felt so good after that. But it wasn't about finding something to critique. It was finding a way to help her feel better and raise the bar on her performance. That's all it was. And I got that for the people that I've mentioned so far tonight. It isn't like I just walked in and said, well, I'm going to be a great evaluator and here's what I'm going to do. No, I gave lousy evaluations. I learned from really good people. And I appreciate the patience that they exhibited, the time they took, because I can be a real pain in the neck to deal with. Right? And on my wrong side, Elizabeth's not going to shake her head.
Oh,
but
I was just
but she's
checking.
agreeing. I can
I
tell
was
by the look
just
at her face. I've known her long enough.
I was checking to see if there was any confirmation.
Okay, and and here's the thing. I'll tell you something. Sometimes you get an evaluation while you're giving your speech. And I know that may sound funny, but I'll give you an example of what I mean. This was many years ago. It was the first time in our club or at the train station that I'm going to speak about my first son dying the day he was born. And I was really nervous about how that was going to go. And I'm getting really emotional. And I'm looking around the room and I see tissues coming out of purses. I see people wiping their eyes and I'm ready to lose it. And from the back of the room, Elizabeth Rando stood up, leaned on one of these chairs, and just went like this and mouthed, "It's okay. It's okay." And that helped me get through that speech. And I always say, she's not just a distinguished Toastmaster, she's a distinguished human being, because that took a lot of presence to do that for somebody like me. And it made all the difference in the world to me. And that's why I continue to call her after every contest and say, how do I get better? Now, if that contest at the district had been in the morning, I would have called her up. I wouldn't have said, how do I get better? I would have said, how do you get better? Because she's recovering from a health issue. And I'm sure we would have had a good talk, but I did not want to bother her, and I certainly didn't want to wear her out. And she's done so much for me throughout the years that I've been here. It's made a difference. And that's why I'm able to come up here tonight and talk to you and feel comfortable and share what I learned from her and Tom and Barry and Karen and Gary and other people. Now, Gary might come up here next week, give a similar session, and contradict everything I said tonight. And that's okay, because if that's what works for him, you take what I've said tonight, what Gary might say, what John over here might say, and extract what works for you and make it your own and come up with, okay, what's going to be effective? What's going to make me feel good? I still have an issue with Barry saying, I love the speaker. Sometimes when I don't even want to evaluate this guy. At this point, I want to open it up for questions. And while I'm waiting for questions, I'm gonna walk over here. I'll tell you one other story. I'm going over here to get a bottle.
Oh, he's drinking again.
And here's the story. I had a good friend who joined our club. He didn't become a good friend until after he joined the club. His name is Duke Richard. Some of you remember him. He died a few years ago.
Yeah.
I was Duke's mentor. And Duke was very nervous when he got up to speak. And he told me, John, my mouth gets so dry. I can't even make it through 5 to 7 minutes without getting some water. I said, well, Duke, I want you to speak. So I don't care what you've got to do to get up there to speak. Wear a hat, take a bottle of water, drink the water if you need to. Just work it into your speech. Don't worry about it. Duke did that, and unfortunately it was the week, I don't know if you remember, Marco Rubio gave a speech, I think after the State of the Union. And he looked like he was sweating his face off, and he was drinking water, and it looked awful. Duke gave a speech right after that, and he's drinking the water. And his evaluator gave it to him. Come on, you can't even make it through 5 to 7 minutes without taking a drink of water. Really? Come on. I'm like, okay, people, here's what I can say about that. I talked to Duke afterwards. I did damage control. I said, look, your next speech, you say, hey, this is what happened in my last speech. And John's the one who told me to do it. Okay, I got no problem with that because I did. But the speech evaluator, in my opinion, could have done that properly. Because I think when you give feedback like that, you're making an assumption about why somebody's doing that. And I like to deal with facts, not assumptions. You validate assumptions so they become facts. You don't know what somebody's going through. Can you imagine if an evaluator said to a speaker, you know, that would have been much more effective if you stood up. And then you see the person wheel off the stage in a wheelchair. I mean, who would say that? Right? Okay, so I got some water. I'm ready for questions. I see Terry looks really like she wants to ask a question even before she put her hand up. What's up, Terry?
All right, hey, John. Oh, so I belong to a few clubs, and one of them, we don't have general evaluator as a role in the meeting. So I'm not really used to the general evaluator role. I have that in my other couple clubs. Here's a question. So in the club without the GE, recently we had an evaluator give a speech to a new member where she said, you shouldn't read your speech. Now, shouldn't read your speech. Now, as a mentor, I tell new members, if they're so nervous that then I say, read your speech. I just want you to get up in front of the group and deliver some words. and so I cringed at the evaluator for saying she shouldn't have read. I'm like, oh no. So is that something the GE should step in and say something?
I wouldn't say step in, but in
I
your
mean, like,
evaluation portion of the meeting. and
That's
give
what I mean.
feedback. I mean, I have told people, I don't care if you give 100 speeches with notes. I just want to hear you give a speech. At some point, you'll feel comfortable coming off the notes. And if you don't, who cares? Everybody starts at their own level. They have their own goals and they take their own path to get there. If you need to speak, just like if Duke needed to drink some water, do it. Because if you can't use the notes and you're not going to speak, I lose hearing from you. I'm not going to learn from you. I want to hear your speech. And I don't care if you use notes. In a contest, somebody might mark you down, but who cares? You got that far. You've taken that step. Encourage them. I mean, he might give them some tips. I mean, when I first started, they said, memorize your opening, memorize your close, and just talk in the middle. Yeah, that sounds real easy now that I've been in Toastmasters for 13 years. It didn't sound that easy when I first joined. Yeah, I mean, my first icebreaker, I had notes and they were up on the lectern and I kept glancing at them. And Barry Rinehart gave me feedback. He said, you didn't look like you needed the notes at all. That's just a crutch. You're talking about yourself. You know you. Just talk. Okay. But everybody's different. So I agree with you. Yeah, if you're going to give a speech and you have to use notes, do it. Just do it. I've also been, I don't know if you've been to clubs like this. Somebody walked in now, some clubs would be, you shouldn't come in late. If you can't be here on time, don't be here. What I tell people is, look, I want to see you here. I don't care if you show up for the last 30 seconds of the meeting. Don't disrupt it, but come. Better to have you here than not coming up. Right? I want this to be a friendly, welcoming, educational environment. Not something where people say, oh boy, I just broke a rule. I want to get ripped apart. No, that's not it. Did you have something else to add, Terry?
I just want to know from you, if that happened in your meeting at you or the GE, what would you say?
Well, I mean, that would never happen at this point. I mean, come on.
Or if you were attending my meeting as the GE.
Well, I'll tell you, for me, a lot of things are situational. I think it would depend on how they delivered the information and how I perceived it was received.
Ah, gotcha.
If I can give feedback as a general evaluator and not do it in a confrontational manner so everybody in the room learns, that's one thing. If it was done in such a way that I don't feel comfortable doing that, I would speak to the evaluator after the meeting, and I would speak to the speaker too. And I would remind them, just like I told you before, maybe it's a new evaluator and they don't know what to say. So you tell them, all right, this is a new evaluator. They're learning just like you're learning. Don't take it to heart, and then maybe give them some feedback so that they feel a little bit better about it. I mean, that's the way I do it, but it is situational. Now I've seen, and I'm pretty sure Elizabeth will remember one night when there was the voting going on in town. We were in a small room and we had a confrontation between the Toastmaster of the evening and the general evaluator. That spilled out into the parking lot. And the president was married to the Toastmaster, so didn't feel she could intervene. That was a little nasty. You don't want this to play out in front of the members and the guests. It's supposed to be an encouraging, first and foremost, Toastmasters is an educational organization. So that's what I'm looking for. Now, I'll tell you something else about receiving evaluations. There have been several times when I gave a speech, I got an evaluation, and I said to myself, she just needed something to say. She didn't know what to say. And then we record our speeches. So then when I reviewed it, I was like, oh my, she was being very kind. It was a lot worse than what she said now that I see it. Oh, okay, I'll pay more attention next time to what she says. Because, sometimes people don't know what to say. All right, well, I think a lot of us are more self-critical than other people are critical of us. And I watched a couple of them, and I'm like, ooh, that was bad. I don't want to do that. Next question. Oh, this one's live. Adele,
It's
Alexander.
not really a question, it's more of a comment. I can remember that I've given a bunch of speeches and I went to give my first evaluation and I was so nervous because I was worried about saying the wrong thing. You
Sure.
know, I had heard about this Oreo cookie method and I was
Mhm.
familiar with that,
Yeah.
similar to storytelling, but I still was worried because in Toastmaster, there are actually a lot of rules. And for those of us with a good memory that's short, it's hard to remember all those rules. So it was a really nerve-wracking experience to get my first evaluation.
I can tell you how to get over it. Anybody who wants to get over that, what you do is you ask to have distinguished Toastmaster Elizabeth Rando as your mentor. And she will help you get over that stuff. But here's something else to remember. There really aren't that many rules in Toastmasters. Every club has its own personality. They have their own guidelines. A lot of people hear rules like you can't talk about politics, religion, or sex in Toastmasters. And people kept saying that so much that I gave a speech one night in our club about religion, politics, and sex. Toastmasters International will tell you that's a bunch of bull. You can go about anything you want, but clubs have norms. And clubs might not appreciate you speaking about certain things. And you have to feel that out. I mean, I've seen people get booed because they came out with a radical stand on something. But you know what? If you boo me, you know what I did? I connected with you. Maybe not in a positive way, but you won't remember me. And if you do, I did what I wanted to. I got you to think. And I consider that to be a big part of who I am, getting people to think. They don't have to think like me, but I want them to think. Other questions or comments?
What would you recommend to a relatively new evaluator evaluating a really experienced speaker? Like, it's so hard sometimes to find the thing to give them as a tip to improve. So what do you recommend?
I recommend not looking for tips to improve, not looking for tips to critique. How did you connect with me?
Okay,
Did you touch me? I felt it.
okay.
I mean, even if it's just, wow. I mean, I've heard people say, wow, I can't come up with anything to critique.
That was
Well,
mine.
you're not there for that.
Yeah.
That was
You're not
me.
there to critique. Hey, you know, oh, Rochelle, oh, that was a great speech. I loved how you opened. I mean, I've said, I can't tell you how many times I've said in my evaluation, you had me before you opened your mouth.
Yeah.
Because your written evaluation set yourself up so well that you had me wanting more and you hadn't even spoken yet. But you look for those things that make you feel good or made you feel bad. Anything that pulled at you. I had to give an evaluation one time at an advanced club up in further north in Palm Beach County. And it was a very, very seasoned, very good speaker. She spoke about 9/11. She gave somebody else a story about it. And when I gave the feedback, I said, oh, and the speech was supposed to be an entertaining speech.
Ooh.
And I gave her feedback. I said, look, when the first plane hit the towers, I lost family. It's too soon for me to be entertained by a speech like this. That's just me. Everybody else in the room might have been entertained. It's just me. It was a really good speech. She structured it well and all. I said, I joined this club to hear and learn from speakers just like you. But this speech was not entertaining for me. So, really good speaker. She definitely touched me emotionally. I was able to give her feedback. It's only 2 to 3 minutes, so it's not like you have to come up with a mountain of stuff to say. And you can repeat yourself. You know? Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Questions? John?
What if you don't like the outside and the middle of the Oreo cookie?
Say again?
So what if you don't like the outside and the middle of the Oreo cookie? What do you do?
Don't use it.
Don't.
That's why I
eat
can't
Oreo
do
cookie.
evaluations. I need another cookie to focus on. Can you give me one?
Walnut brownies. Use walnut brownies.
No,
Hey, you know what? Here's the thing. I've used analogies through the years, and sometimes people get tired of them. Like I'll use a real estate analogy. Oh, you set the foundation of the home. If you don't have a solid foundation, just like in a house, your speech will collapse. And then you build the walls. And the walls were the structure that you had to your speech. And then the roof covers it all. So how do you summarize? That was really good. Do this, do that. But you can't do that every time you give an evaluation. People are like, all right, that's all he does. Okay? But if it's appropriate to that speech, like Barry told me one time in a high-level contest, somebody was giving a speech about soccer. Well, he made his evaluation and an analogy to soccer and kicking a goal and playing defense and everything. And he won. I didn't see it, but he gave that in the Toastmasters training. Okay? That answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, next question. Elizabeth,
You're
on
muted,
mute.
you're on mute.
I didn't know if you saw me. John, share with them, you had a formula that you use from time to time. And it's what I felt, what I heard. There were 3 things when you gave an evaluation that I thought was very effective.
All right, I worked through that too, and I think what it is what I saw, what I heard, what I felt. But I find a lot of people do that. And in a contest, I don't want to be like a lot of people. Even if I come in last place, I want to be me. I don't want to be everybody else. But yeah, I think that's a good framework. If you don't want to use the Oreo cookie, thank you for that, Elizabeth. You know, this is what I saw, this is what I heard, this is what I felt as a result. I like giving people the why behind what I'm saying. That's part of what I do professionally. And I think that's something that is helpful for people. Because you just say, well, I'd like it better if you did blah. But I don't tell you why. I really haven't given you the full story. I like to, when I can, give you the why. Sometimes it's just like, I don't know, I love the speech. I don't know why. It touched me. I don't know why I loved it. I mean, I never thought I'd like panda bears so much. But, you know, eating licorice on Thanksgiving. You know? Thank you for that, Elizabeth. Does that answer your question? Thank you. Anybody else? Joy, you look like you're dying to ask a question, but you want to put your hand up.
Victoria has her hand up. Oh,
Where is she?
Victoria?
Oh, I didn't even know she was there.
Victoria.
I can't see her.
My camera decided it wanted to go kaput. It won't turn back on.
How do we know it's really you?
That voice.
I'm a figment of your imagination. It's fine.
Go ahead.
My question is, I'm very much like you said you were, where I'm a very processes kind of person. And I'm the person who likes to write a million notes as I'm listening to a speech. And then of course you miss something. How did you get away from that? Because that's what I'm trying to work on.
I stopped taking notes. Other than just a little scribble here, a little scribble there. I want to remember a name or an event or a date. So if I'm going to use it in my evaluation, I can. But I found I was taking so many notes, I didn't really hear the speech. So I can't give good feedback. And when I was taking notes, my head was down writing. How am I going to give feedback on facial expression, body language, movement? Because I'm not seeing it. I need to see it. So try to wean yourself off of the notes and just have the confidence that, okay, that touched me, and maybe you write something quick down. That touched me, write something quick down just to jog your memory as you're preparing. And then just go up and give them feedback. We're at the yellow light now. I think we have time for one more question. Unless Elizabeth's trying to get my attention and wants to ask a question by putting the yellow one. Any other questions? Right. I hope this has been helpful. To me, to summarize, hear the speaker. Be vulnerable. Let them touch you. Tell them how they touched you, how they could touch you more deeply. Connect with you. Remember Barry saying, love the speaker. And I love them forever. Love them for 2 to 3 minutes. And then you should be pretty good. I appreciate you all taking the time to be here tonight and putting up with me. And if you have feedback for me, please feel free to send me an email, call me up, and feel free to say, Tom, here's what I think you could do better. or how you can connect that with me. Please welcome back our Toastmasters for the evening.
Thank you, distinguished Toastmaster Schneyer. Great speech. Everybody, please take 2 minutes and write. You have the forms right in front of you. Please write some feedback for Toastmaster Schneyer. Can we have 2 minutes on the clock, please? When 2 minutes are up, please have it come red.
So here.
Hope so. There we go. We've got our 2 minutes. Please pass your notes to Toastmaster Schneyer. Timer. Did all of our speakers qualify? Did our one speaker qualify?
Yes, our speaker qualified at 54 minutes and 32 seconds.
Oh, I have more to say.
Oh, he still has time left? Please bring back Toastmaster Schneyer.
I'll evaluate myself.
Now I want to turn our meeting over to our general evaluator, Toastmaster Strauss.
I'd completely forgotten that I was gonna be general evaluator and that I was gonna be evaluating John. I had no idea. So this is really a good experience for me because I actually do better when I don't have time to get worried in advance. So the general evaluation portion is where we get the evaluation of the meeting and the evaluation of the speaker. And what else is it?
Reports.
The what? The reports from our helpers. I guess I'll do the evaluation of John first. Don't worry, I am in favor of the Oreo cookie method. So therefore, I am first going to say that evaluating John is an interesting experience for me because he's such a good speaker, and I often have written to him, John, that was a great speech, good job, end of story. But I can't do that because I have to entertain you all as well. So I am going to be a little trite, but honest in saying, I love the way he makes eye contact. He was attempting to make eye contact with Zoom people. I felt like he was speaking to me, And sometimes when he would call on Gary, mention Gary or I still felt like I was connected with you, and I felt like you were looking at me throughout the speech. And I don't know if it's because you knew I was going to evaluate you, but I thought that was really cool, and I felt really connected the entire time. I also didn't expect it to be so conversational. It was just like, hey, friends, let's all sit around and discuss ways that we can evaluate and be evaluated. And I really enjoyed method, so much so that I did get lost in the details. I was watching how engaging he is and how his hand gestures were so natural. His vocal variety was pretty good, but the one thing that I always struggle with John, with you, I don't know if I'm talking to everybody or you, is that you do talk quiet when, I was trying to pinpoint when that is. You used to trail your sentences off, and I noticed that's not happening anymore. You've gotten really good at not trailing your sentences off. But what I did notice, 2 times you got low when you wanted to emphasize something, which is not good because I'm not necessarily officially clinically hard of hearing, but I did have trouble hearing you at those times, and you were attempting to emphasize. So it may be helpful to me and others if you, instead of emphasizing quietly, you would emphasize with more emphasis. The other time that I noticed that you went quiet was when you were talking in what I'm calling parentheses. So when you wanted to say an aside to what you were saying. So, and again, it's just the tone that I struggle with. And so if you notice that you get quiet at those times, maybe find another tone or raise it somehow to help me out, to help a friend out, John. And I was expecting you not to summarize because it was so conversational. I thought it was just going to be, well, oh, I really hope that I've been able to help you all, my friends and fellow Toastmasters, and have a great night. So I was ready to say, oh, and I would have liked a summary at the end, but guess what? I got a summary at the end. And because it was so conversational, it was just like, oh, wait, I can't say, give me a summary at the end. I really did get a lot out of your evaluations conversation. And I enjoyed the way that you did that. And I always look forward to your speeches because they're so skilled, and it gives me my opportunity to say, okay, what could I help someone that skilled and award-winning and prize-winning? What can I help that person with? So it pushes me that, right? Just something. And I always appreciate hearing your speeches. Therein lies my evaluation of John. Excellent job. And the next portion of the meeting is our helpers, correct? So let's speak to our helpers. We'll start with our counter, Gary Sharp.
Table topics.
What?
Table topics.
Wait, table topics is before the.
Yes.
Oh, I apologize, everybody. Take 2. Let me introduce our table topics master for the evening. Andre Nugent, who's on Zoom, will be table topics. This is me crossing him.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator, fellow Toastmaster, fellow Toasties. Good evening. It's the time to relax. That's usually what table topic will be about, is find a way to be able to relax. I think we started with Toastmaster of the evening, talking about memories of vacation, school time, beach, time we spent with parents, and so on and so on. This time, I want to take you back to, since the theme of the evening is all about vacation, I want to take you back to vacation, which is normally a relaxed time. But we know table topic usually is an impromptu speech. So we bring outside life to Toastmasters, and we take something for Toastmaster to outside life, and we become more eloquent when we speak, right? We are able to learn how to, in 1 to 2 minutes, provide a very good structured speech, an opening, body, and conclusion. And we do that very effectively and persuasive. We are assertive when we do that. So that's what I'm going to invite each of us to try to do tonight. First of all, let me just thank again our workshop facilitator, distinguished Toastmaster Schneyer, for great insights of how to become a very impactful evaluator. I think we all learned something from him. And to move forward in our table topic, timer, can you please help us understand the timing parameters?
Yes, table topics master. The timing parameters for our table topic is 1 to 2 minutes. At 1 minute, I will share the green background. At 1.5 minutes, I will share the yellow background. And at 2 minutes, I will share the red background, and the speaker will have 30 seconds to finish their speech.
Thank you, timer. Now is the time to get into table topic, and the theme is vacation. Again, let me just ask guests, if you are willing to participate, please send me a note in the chat if you are online. If you are in the room, just probably let who is handling BRTM 3299 to know that you want to participate, and they will let me know, and I will be able to call on you. My first question is this: vacation, vacation, vacation. What comes in mind? Toastmaster Power.
What first comes to mind when I think of vacation? Relaxing is what is the very first thing that comes to my mind. The most relaxing vacation I've ever had in my life is usually on a cruise ship, because no one can find you there. Only the people you want to find you can actually find you. And there's food, and there's drink, and there's the pool, and there's the spa. Not that I'm a spa person, but it's always nice to go and sit on the heated lounge chairs in the spa and read a juicy novel, which is something that I normally don't get to do, but it is certainly a very guilty pleasure. I absolutely love cruising. I will go anywhere on a cruise. I will do an overnight cruise. I will do a month-long cruise. I will do a 72-day cruise. I will go anywhere. My most magnificent vacation was on a cruise ship, and it was going up the Mekong River in Vietnam and Cambodia, which is like the last place that you would ever think would have incredible beauty. And it was the most relaxing I've ever been in my entire life. It was magnificent to see people living such beautiful lives, and they have nothing. It was all very spiritual. And it really made me think a lot about my life and about the lives that the people in this world live. And that's my most magnificent vacation. Back to you, Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Toastmaster Power. Cruise is probably something that probably not a good one for it. I'm not a good candidate because I don't feel like I will be able to sustain, you said 70 days in a back place. I probably will go postal, but there is one place that I want to go and cruise is to Alaska, because I don't think I will be able to make it by myself, just flying over there. Probably a cruise line will be the best way for me to be able to explore that beauty of nature. So my next question will be, give me an evaluation of your last vacation, probably on a cruise. Toastmaster John Lavender.
my last vacation and one day on a cruise. As it so happens, my last vacation, I just come back from Washington, DC. And that was quite exciting. I only went for a cruise at Christmas, so I can talk about that, but I'm going to talk about my last one from Washington. I came back from it and enjoyed it. But the thing that was most enjoyable was going to the Washington Zoo, because it was, it's not called the State Zoo or something. I can't remember what the zoo's called. Doesn't really matter. I don't normally like zoos because they tend to have cages and imprison animals, but this zoo was really open and nice. And the reason we went was because my wife there was a baby panda born there almost 2 years ago, and I had to pretend to be interested in watching panda cams every night when I was in bed, saying, "Oh, isn't it sweet? Isn't it sweet?" And I suppose it was quite sweet, but there's a limit to how sweet something can be, and not worth looking at every night. But we went to see the panda live, the baby. So eventually, when we found the panda house, which took a bit of time, and then got inside, there it was. We watched the panda and thought, "Oh, isn't it cute?" Then we realized it was the mother. It wasn't the baby. Because they grow quite big. And then we saw the baby was up higher on the rocks, but the baby wouldn't wake up. He was sleeping the whole time. So we saw the baby panda sleeping, which was very cute. I could have done that on the webcam. So it was good fun. It was good fun, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Washington. It's always good to see our center of government and how it's not being governed. And it's always good to see other exciting things. I actually managed to come back with COVID, which was very exciting. But anyway, a bit of treatment with monoclonal antibodies sorted that out. So it's a new vacation special. But otherwise, it was good, and I enjoyed it. I would recommend it. It wasn't that relaxing, to be honest, but it was enjoyable. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Lavender. I know one thing about table topics is you can get a topic and you may decide to go different routes. My next question, summer is probably a month ahead. What is in your to-do list for this coming summer? Toastmaster Demille.
Dear table topic masters, since you pointed out I can take it any route I want to tell you about my dream vacation, not for this summer, but maybe next or in the next 10 years. I have traveled in many places. I have been to Asia only once. I really want to go to Japan. There are multiple reasons for it. One of them is sushi, and Japanese cuisine is one of my favorite cuisines. I really would like to go. Although I did hear some mixed messages I heard from some people, from Japanese people, they told me they had the best sushi in US, not in Japan. And some people I heard they had the greatest sushi in Japan. And other reasons, I find the culture fascinating. I find it very different and unique. So I am extremely interested. I don't know if I would like to dress up like Japanese people, but maybe. I do find a lot of things about the culture fascinating. So that would be my dream vacation. And I can add on more. Why can't I take a year or 6 months off and do whole Asia, Vietnam, Thailand, and go to many places? So that would be my dream vacation. Hopefully I will be able to do it before I am at an age that I cannot enjoy that anymore. Back to you, table topic master.
Thank you, Toastmaster Demille. Yes, you do have the right to be able to switch, and you did very well. You just told my next question, which is dream vacation. So you are right on track. But I can tell you, I think there is a Japan exposure in our background here in Morikani Gardens in Boca Raton. If you've never been there yet, take a chance. You probably getting yourself ready to be in Japan, back in Boca Raton. Next question. A vacation destination you wish to make your new residence. Toastmaster Adele Alexander. a vacation destination you wish to make your new residence?
Well, I have a dream vacation coming up in just 2 weeks. As some of you know, especially Gary, I am a face painter. I have face painted at our Halloween parties a number of times. However, on this particular occasion, I am going to the one and only and in-person Face and Body Painting International Conference in Orlando, Florida. I'm very excited because a few years back, I was able to go to the convention for just the day they were opening it to visitors for buying things at their vendor day. And I caught a couple of demonstrations of face painting. But this year, my good friend Shirley Rose, who is an expert on face painting roses, coincidentally, she talked me into buying the entire package and staying at the actual convention site in a resort. Now, when the pandemic started, I was scheduled to go on my 11th cruise as a face painter, in which I get 2 tickets to Royal Caribbean for 8 days in exchange for 13 hours of face painting on board during those 8 days. And it was Easter, and of course, everything shut down. I can't tell you how disappointed I was. But here we are, in person and on Zoom, and we're back. So I have to tell you that having a vacay at a resort in Orlando driving distance, yay!
All right, this concludes our table topic sessions. Please, we have Toastmaster Power, Toastmaster Demille, Toastmaster Lavender, and Toastmaster Adele as our speakers. Please vote for the best table topic speaker. And if you are in the room, I believe Rochelle, who is collecting the vote in the room, and who is collecting the votes online?
I can't hear you, Andre. Say that again.
Online, there should be a poll launched online.
Did everyone qualify? Timer?
Okay, so let's get to timer. I'm sorry about that. Timer, can you tell us if everyone qualified?
Yes, everyone qualified.
Thank you. We cleared that one out, so let's vote. I'm still waiting for the votes online. Didn't show up yet. All right, so please vote if you're online and in the room. Joy E. Power, John Lavender, Ahu Demille, and Adele Alexander.
I'll collect them. Please
Vote.
And this finished with this session of table topics. And I will turn it back to our general evaluator, Toastmaster Rochelle Strauss. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Nujo. That was a lot of fun thinking about all the wonderful vacations I've been on, all the vacations I could have gone on, and all the cruises. Sounds like fun. Thank you. Our Next thing is our helpers. I couldn't, so let's get our reports from our helpers. We'll start with the odd counter, Distinguished Toastmaster Gary Sharp. Are you the odd counter?
I certainly
You are the ringless odd counter.
General evaluator, Philip Toasters.
Toasters.
My report is Adele had one well and one now. Andre had one John had two nows. But what was interesting, you only did that right at the very early. Once you got up to speed, you spoke for 50 minutes with no infractions. That's very good.
John Lavender, who's a ventriloquist.
And Rochelle, well, there you are. You're behind me. Move your back here so I can address you.
Great.
She had one so, and then there was something I had never heard anybody do before. This is remarkable.
I'm special.
As many of you realize, the word so usually is a filler. However, it can, if it is being used in the meaning of therefore, like it was raining, so I took an umbrella, that so is okay. This lovely lady did a double header. She said, so therefore, that's the first time I heard of so therefore.
I was defining it for you.
You did that, yes, very good.
Therefore,
That would be the British version.
there you go. I'll get John back.
Thank you. Our next helper is our timer. Would you tell us how everyone did and how you did?
Everyone did great. They all met their timing parameters. I will say that it was a little difficult to time such a long speech because I kept worrying that it was like I missed the timing or something. So that was a little challenging because it's our first time ever doing such a long speech. And my only other comment as a timer is that we didn't go over the timing parameters at the beginning for John's speech and for the evaluation. So in the future, we have to make sure that we do go over those different timing parameters so that not only the speaker knows what timing parameters they have and what cues to look for, but our audience and our guests know as well.
Thank you. Our Joy, what was your position?
I was going to be the odd counter, but then somebody else took Gary was the odd counter. So I did not have one.
All right. And then who was the digital coordinator Zoom host?
We only acknowledge that person. They don't
Okay.
They don't speak.
So then our grammarian, that would be me. I could change my voice, but I'm just not good at that. As your grammarian, I took notes. So those of you who look for points, John said the word of the day, relaxed, once. Joy said it twice, and John Lavender said it twice. I didn't even say it myself, which is a bad grammarian on my part. The parts of speech that were fun or interesting, Phil said thrilled to her fingertips, which I just thought was a funny sentence. John had a couple of good phrases, the why behind the why, savor the flavor, which would be the consonant sound of the alliteration. Schneier's stuff, that's a tongue twister. Special speech alliteration. John had a lot of good ones. And that is my grammarian report. And now I turn the control of the meeting over to our Toastmaster of the evening, the Toastmaster Robinson.
Thank you, Toastmaster Strauss. Before we go to the ribbons, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's here and participated. For the ribbons, best speaker, John Schneyer. Rochelle Strauss. And finally, I shall look forward to taking a cruise and getting my face painted. Well, probably plastic surgery would be better. But hey, who can afford that? Now I would like to turn this meeting back over to our president for some closing remarks.
That would be me. As always, a fun meeting. I wore a lot of hats, so I didn't get to relax much. Some of it was intentional, some of it was accidental. Hannah, hello, you're our last remaining guest. You stayed till the end, you get extra points. Joining us, I hope you enjoyed. Would you like to say a few words about our meeting? All right, wonderful.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. She's a woman of few words. Does anybody have any announcements?
Me.
Adele does.
I want to announce that I got into watercolor painting, and 4 of my watercolors were accepted to a show in California that will be happening for Artists of Toastmasters this coming Saturday. And if y'all want to see my watercolors the following Monday, it will be on Artist of Toastmasters meeting. We have an artist meeting. The first Monday is an actual speech, but the rest of it is just artist meetings. And there will be a tour of the studio, including my watercolors. So please join me. You can find us on Facebook, Artists of Toastmasters.
Okay, that's lovely. Yeah, and that makes me think that we have posts that are on social media. We're on Facebook and we're on 2 places, right?
Twitter, Instagram.
Not Twitter, maybe Instagram, but I don't remember exactly. I think we're on Instagram and Facebook. So please, Toastmasters, Boca Raton Toastmasters, please like us, share all of our posts, because that's how we get the news out there in the world of the internets. If nobody has any other announcements, I will open the floor to oh, Elizabeth, did you wave your hand?
It can be offline,
Okay,
because we're still recording, sorry.
Oh, okay.
well,
And then our VPE can help us to fill roles for next week. Now, next week is elections. So if you know anybody who wants to be an officer, who is interested in being an officer, who you think would be a good officer, please let the current officers know so that we can elect them next week. Also, please come. Please come to the meeting next week. We need as many members as possible so that we can have the vote of election.